master kept Ezekiel going, comforted by knowing deity's plans. Then he got that call, that horrible call.
Each keeper learns, within the first few weeks of his tenure, that his position is more powerful than he imagined, more than any man could imagine. The powers that come with a connection to the spirit include the ability to see into anyone's soul, the finesse to know if a woman is conceived, and the sensitivity to know if an individual is lying to him. The power of touch, to the keeper, is far beyond any other sense he has been given. Few men walk upon this planet who can keep the soul of Estolia, wield this power, and not be tempted to use it in ways that deity never intended. Lazarus, Ricard and Zakarian, Capitulo 84.
Zeke set the phone on the desk in front of him and focused on the far wall. He was trying to take it all in. Absently he rubbed the scars on his leg as he replayed the bizarre phone call.
How could she be taken, stolen, removed, leaving him forsaken after she's approved?
Just after Zeke was ushered into Thaddeus' office, one of his assistants interrupted them.
"I'm sorry, sir.
She said.
We've received an urgent phone call from Mr. Zakarian."
Thaddeus' thick bushy brows crowded close to one another, and he commanded in his deep grumbly voice.
"Bring him a phone."
Zeke was wondering if it was his Uncle Theo or his brother Isaiah calling him. That brought thoughts of Cadarin's beautiful aura back to him, and he was smiling when he took the cordless phone from the assistant.
"Listen up, Lazarus Ezekiel Zakarian."
The voice was cold, emotionless, hissing each of his three names with machine-like precision. Zeke sat up straight, the warmth of his memory of Cadarin turning to ice. Something was dreadfully wrong.
"Lazarus speaking,"
he said, not bothering with his familiar name. His eyes met Thaddeus' eyes. His friend was alert and listening.
"Listen carefully, Lazarus. Your future depends on it."
The cold atonal words were ricocheting through his mind. Every instinct he possessed told him his life itself depended on listening and understanding and remembering everything this man had to say to him.
"You have my full attention."
He said into the silence, his voice gruff with suppressed emotion.
"Who are you? What do you want?"
In a moment we will be joined on this call by a young woman of your acquaintance. Such a delightful young woman. It would be a great pity if something dreadful was to happen to her orange curls or freckled face.
"Hello?"
The voice was hesitant. The memory of her voice rippled through his nerve endings like a jolt of electricity. He thought, when he first saw her, that she might speak with a country accent, sounding vaguely uneducated, in keeping with her appearance as a country girl. But when he first heard her voice, it was sultry, seductive, silky smooth, and highly educated. Now, however, it was tense, shaky.
"Cadarin, are you okay?"
He asked. He could hear someone speaking in the background with a menacing voice, not quite intelligible.
"Ezekiel, I think I've been kidnapped."
The original voice was on the line again, clarifying.
"She has been kidnapped, Mr. Zakarian, and if you want to see her again, you will do exactly what we tell you to do."
He heard a clicking noise and wondered if the phone call was over. But the voice continued.
"She is no longer on the line, Lazarus. You will never speak with her again if you are unwilling to follow my instructions exactly."
"What do you want from me?"
Zeke asked.
"I know you think Cadarin is the right woman to marry, to keep your soul, but you will not marry her. If you do, she will not live long enough to see Estolia."
Zeke was rocked to his core. This man was either Estolian or knew more about Estolia than any outsider had a right to know. But if he was Estolian, if he understood the faith, how could he possibly expect to dictate who Zeke married?
"You will not seek help from the police. They would not understand the details. You will also have Montclair call off his dogs. I will give you 10 days to ponder the wisdom of marrying Brittany Davalos. If you refuse to work with me, in 10 days, I will send you an incentive. Miss Cicero is an artist. Perhaps she will mourn the loss of her right hand, or her eyes. It is 1:42. Expect to hear from me in 22 hours and 18 minutes to discuss this further. Do not expect to have any success in tracing this or subsequent phone calls. I have very good men working for me.
Zora radiated, scintillated, indicated her place on Estolia's shores.
Once he finished reviewing the past momentous 5 minutes, he looked at Thaddeus.
I could hear the entire thing.
Thaddeus said.
I got my men to try and trace the call, but he wasn't boasting. The people he has working for him are good at what they do. It seems we have 22 hours to locate Brittany Davalos, to try to figure out if she can help us. Do you know anyone by that name?
Zeke frowned in thought. His assistant Marcus told him something about a woman he had met. He always called her Brit. Marcus was worried that she would not want him since he was confined to a wheelchair. Zeke thought Marcus' last message was definitive. He was going to be in seclusion for a week. With Brit, he explained to Thaddeus about his assistant.
I don't pretend to understand everything about your faith.
Thaddeus said.
But what I do know tells me that this is an impossible situation. If your friend Marcus has married the Brittany this man expects you to marry, then it's impossible to comply with his demands.
Thaddeus, I could, I suppose, go through a marriage ceremony with someone other than Kedarin, but I could not consummate it.
His voice broke and he had to swallow on the emotions surging through his system. Closing his eyes, he tried to reach out to deity, seek solace, find inspiration. His emotions were too tightly entwined in the situation. He could not achieve the necessary emotional distance for communicating with deity. Taking a deep breath, he opened his eyes and sat up.
I must speak with my uncle Theo and with my assistant Marcus. Nothing can be done until we gather more information.
I'll clear my calendar, Zeke. I'll help you in any way I can.
Thaddeus' voice was thick with compassion and, to Zeke's ear, the anticipation of impending sorrow for his friend.
Ezekiel, how can they overcome this madness? Hope after disaster kept Ezekiel going, comforted by knowing deity's plans. How could she be taken, stolen, removed, leaving him forsaken after she is approved? Or is confirmation heart's destination? Insanity and despair, his former faith corrupted. The abductor didn't care, transition interrupted.